Well, welcome everyone. This is the Those Darn DPAs session. And the description, down payment programs are alive and well, and demand for them is at a record high. So why do loan originators and real estate professionals still balk at taking advantage of these opportunities for their buyers? So join us as we take a look at some common obstacles, real or perceived, and how to overcome them. So I'd like to introduce Angel Romero from Down Payment Resource. Angel, as the new HFA Relationship Manager, she is tasked with building and maintaining down payment resources relationships with hundreds of local housing finance agencies nationwide. She has a natural talent for fostering partnerships and developing strategies to ensure down payment and home buyer assistance program reach underserved communities that need them the most. So, Angel?
Thank you. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to stand here a little bit, have this great presentation, so I don't want to miss some of the ins and outs that my team has put together for us. So those darn DPAs, the snark is on purpose. Overcoming objections and misconceptions. A lot of people don't understand DPAs. They're afraid of them. They think, oh, they take forever, they add time. So we're going to go through a lot of the information, and I'll try to be slow and quick at the same time. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. We can grab them at the end if you'd like. You can put them in the Q&A on the app as well, and I can get to those at the end. Tell you a little bit about myself. I have 20 years in the industry. Is this on? Can you hear me? No. How about now? No. It doesn't. Oh, there we go. It's magic. Okay.
The sensor's on the top.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So 20 years in the industry, and the last 10 of it have been with down payment assistance. I have worked everything from title to being an LO to being an underwriter to doing audits, and I found down payment assistance. That became my passion. I said, wow, who knows about this? Why aren't we telling more people? I want to shout it from the rooftops. I still do that every day today. So there's a lot going on with DPA. We're going to go through the state of DPAs, perceptions and misperceptions about DPAs, the top 5 DPA obstacles and objections and solutions, and that's what we're hearing from the industry. Tools to help along the way, and then next steps and best practices. Excuse me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Down Payment Resource. I've been with Down Payment Resource for seven months. But in my previous life with an intermediate mortgage banker, I worked with DPR for 7 years. I could not cheerlead enough for them, for what we do, what they're doing. They take everything and all this hard work that you guys are doing, that the housing authorities are doing, and we put the information out there. We put it into people's hands. We make it less scary. We make it more usable. We're led by a team with decades of experience in residential mortgage finance and real estate, and we house a national database and matching engine of over 2,300 programs nationally. That comes along with tools for mortgage lenders to make DPA easier, and Down Payment Connect for agents and LOs, and integrated DPA information for our MLS partners. We help connect home buyers to the down payment assistance that's available. Oh, what did I do? I think I pushed a button. There we go. So we're going to go through the current state of homebuyer programs in Washington. Currently, there are 64 total programs. 6 of them are inactive, 1 with a wait list. 22 of those programs have a forgivable option. 19 are deferred and forgivable. 7 grants, 43 second mortgages, 51 combined and 55 first mortgages. The 50, 51, I'm going to grab a different one. The 51 combined means that it is a first mortgage combined with a DPA option. Let's see if this one likes me a little better. So those are all of the, no, it does not like me. Those are all the options currently available in Washington. I'm also going to give you some national information just because we tend to see that within the states, the national numbers seem to ring true. So currently, nationally, 75% of those 2,300 programs are down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. 87% of the DPA programs have deferred payments. 58% are forgivable. 53% are forgivable loans with deferred payments. There are grants. Those are gifts which don't have to be repaid. Second mortgages are still out there. Typically, it's very low or 0% interest loans that may be deferred or incrementally forgiven over time. And down payment assistance programs combined with first mortgages that typically have more favorable interest rates. Who offers these programs? Housing authorities, local and state, CDFIs, federal home loan banks, land trusts, and more. We all see the nature of the beast. We see it growing, we see it changing. There's so much creativity and ingenuity happening in this space. It's hard to keep up with how quick the housing authorities are making sure that the options that are needed for consumers to use down payment assistance are out there. Down payment help is available. Common myth, programs are not available in my area. 39 counties in Washington. Karina, is there a county that the commission doesn't cover? 39 counties have down payment assistance programs. And there are multiple in some counties, different types of programs. And in talking to Dietrich when we met the other day, sometimes you can layer those programs. That's a great, great way to put down payment assistance, grant programs, monies that are out there, matched savings programs to help consumers who don't think they can get into a house, get into a house. Current trends. As Karina said when we started this, the demand for down payment assistance is through the roof. It's not going anywhere. DPA providers are increasing the assistance amounts, income limits, purchase price limits to help more borrowers and potential home buyers get into the houses they're looking to get into. New state and local programs continue to launch in markets nationwide. 82.5% of the programs that are out there, they're active and funded. The monies are there, and they're begging, please use them. Down payment assistance is still available, and it's not going away. So we do what's called the Homeownership Program Index, and we pull information about the down payment assistance programs that are out there and available. 40% of all programs have no first-time home buyer requirement. That is another myth. When people think down payment assistance, we hear it so often, especially across the industry. Oh, but my buyer's not a first-time home buyer. That's okay. There's a program. 33% allow manufactured homes. 30% allow multi-unit, 2 to 4 residential unit properties. 27% are statewide, like the commission, state HFAs. Most of the rest are local. 400 programs across the nation offer extra incentives for military service, healthcare workers, specific professions. Perceptions. DPAs add cost, no margin. DPAs add post-closing complexity and risk. Program training and adoption questions. Potential impact on approval timeline. Availability and continuity of funding. What we hear all the time is, we love the concept, but we struggle with the logistics and the economics. So let's talk about the 5 top obstacles. What did I do? There we go. Those are it. We're going to give you millions of reasons to rethink all of this, but first, the top 5. Inventory is limited and unaffordable. We all know that to be true. Confusion about down payment requirements. Again, my buyer's not a first-time home buyer. That's okay. Sellers refuse contracts with DPA. DPA extends the transaction. Establishing agent and LO partnerships. Inventory is limited and unaffordable. So you can consider alternatives to the open market. Agency-owned or municipal-owned properties and land trusts combined with DPA can create affordable options for first-time home buyers. The problem is we do have historically low inventory. Days on the market decreasing, there's an enormous demand, limited supply, prices are steady or increasing, and buyers are struggling to compete. Homes that need minor repairs are another option. It may give a buyer the opportunity to compete and afford a home that they can make their own. Counsel buyers about what the process and competition will look like. Make sure they get pre-approved. Make sure that if you know your borrower is going to need a DPA or may need a DPA, get home buyer education started. Statistically, nationally, they've shown that 83% of buyers who take home buyer education prior to closing, whether they use a DPA or not, are 83% less likely to default on a loan. It teaches them tools and skills that maybe they don't know they need going into home purchase. In 12 or 16 months, if your furnace goes out, what do you do? How do you handle that? Are you prepared for that? Home buyer education puts buyers in a better place for becoming homeowners. Inventory, what can you do? Consider alternative sources. As I mentioned, agency-owned or municipal-owned properties, community land trusts, homes that need minor repairs, 2-unit properties and manufactured homes. We're seeing those come in available for DPA where they hadn't been before. We know we have to look at alternative sources of housing. Counsel buyers about the process and what the competition's going to look like so that they know going in what the process looks like. We want to make sure that home buyers that are going to use down payment assistance, that are going to look at alternative housing, know that it may have a different path. Doesn't mean that you're going to close a standard home in 30 days. You can close a home with DPA in 30 days. Know your program, educate your buyers on what the programs are. We want to shout from the rooftops that buyers should be educated on the programs they're using so they know what to expect going in, and that we don't have to adjust timelines to use a down payment assistance. We talk to LOs, lenders, and I'm sure the commission would second this. There are loans closing on the same time frame using down payment assistance as loans that are not using it. Also, have your borrowers understand that it's a calculated patience. You want to narrow down what their list of must-haves are so that you're fully prepared to strike when the right property hits the market. Confusion about down payment requirements. 65% of prospective buyers believe that they need at least 15 to 20% down. And I'm going to give you a little shared story. I've been here since Monday. When I flew in on Monday, I stopped at the coffee shop at the airport. Super tired. They were trying to be chatty to keep me awake because I've been up since 2:30 in the morning. 3 young people, probably in their 20s. They said, "Oh, what are you doing here? Is it a vacation?" "No, I'm here to speak at Calvin, Washington." "Oh, what's that?" So I explained that I was going to talk about down payment assistance. Their eyes just lit up. What's down payment assistance? What do you mean? So I said, go ahead and look up when you get a chance, Washington State Housing. Well, they didn't wait. They're typing on their phone as I'm talking. And they were ahead of me. I didn't even finish, and they were done typing. So they were looking at down payment assistance. went to Bellevue and met with Northwest MLS on Monday. I had an hour-long trip back from Bellevue in an Uber. Did the same thing. The gentleman that was driving, we were chatting. I said, oh, you own a home? No, I can't afford the down payment. And it's funny that you said that, because I was just talking to my cousin, and he said the same thing. Our rent just went up $250. I could pay my own, but I don't have a down payment. I light up like a Christmas tree, because I say, here, take my card. Look on down payment resource. Here's Washington Housing website, and I write it down, and he's so excited. He said, I'm not telling my cousin because I don't want him to beat me to it. I said, great thing is, there's enough for both of you, and your family, and your friends. I want to scream down payment from the rooftops. And I love how you guys say, and I've heard it 4 or 5 times now, you don't want to be the best kept secret. Who does? Not with something this great. We want to help people get into homes. Homeownership sets foundation. It gives us roots. It's not just a house. It's where we grow our families, or where we're old enough that we're done growing our families and we want them to come visit. So those are some little, I love doing what I do. And I love doing it, and you all give me the opportunity to do that because of the programs you put together and the work that you put in. Back to this now. 76% have little to no familiarity with low down payment programs. Home buyers aren't familiar with industry terms and guidelines. Millions of home buyers are sidelining themselves. The magic number, the myth, 20%. So, you can combat misperceptions. Buyers don't need 20% down. Tell them all. Yell it. Give me their numbers. I'll tell them. Get outside your bubble. Educate yourself about the help that is available for your clients. I can't tell you how many lenders, how many LOs, how many agents that I talk to, and they're like, oh, I can't do DPAs. Yeah, you can. Let me tell you how. You just have to know it. Once you've done it twice, everybody around you is going to think you're an expert because they don't do it. Expose down payment programs to your clients. Tell stories to prospects. Tell them about how the last person got into a home when they weren't going to be able to without the down payment assistance. Stay in your lane. Consult with brokers, peers, loan officer partners. Leverage tools and resources. Downpaymentresource.com. We have a tool on there where anyone can go on. Doesn't cost anything. They can plug in a zip code in Washington, and it'll pull up every program that's available for that zip code. They put in a couple more pieces of information, it'll pull up every program that's available for them with the information that they provided. Call your local DPA providers, your state housing finance agencies. Work with home buyer education courses. I've told so many people in the industry, you can teach them. You can learn to be a home buyer education provider. And let me tell you about the people you're going to meet. They're going to come up after you teach the class or while you're teaching the class, and they're going to ask you a ton of questions. You're going to have the answers because you've made yourself knowledgeable about the home buyer programs that are available. The third top, sellers refuse contracts with DPA. What's the problem? Sellers and their agents misunderstand DPAs. Bad past experiences can sour current attitudes. Contract offers don't frame DPA as a value add, which we all know it is. I'm going to come to closing. My mom's going to give me the money for closing. I get to the table. She's $500 short. Oops. Now I'm calling. How do I figure this out? I just delayed my closing. This buyer's going to come to the table. They've got down payment assistance. They're already approved. That's a value add. Nothing's going sideways with that. Everything is set to go when you get to the table. It's guaranteed down payment assistance. Sellers erroneously fear delays. Sellers and their agents want certainty and associate DPAs with a lack of it. Big red sign, reject. Agents and loan officers should leverage their reputation as DPA experts. Like I said, when you do 2 of them, you know them. Sit down and learn the program. Washington makes it super easy. You get online, you look at what the program requirements are. You make sure you hit those going in. Whatever's necessary, know it beforehand. When I was at LO, I knew it was my job ahead of time to know how to tell my borrowers what the process was going to look like. If I don't educate myself, I can't educate my borrowers, and I can't educate my partners in the industry. So, DPA covers the closing costs. That's higher net proceeds for the seller. Maybe they don't have to give as much seller concession because the borrower's got a DPA that's going to cover. DPA can open the door to conventional financing. Another big myth. Conventional financing does work with down payment assistance. It's not just government financing. There are so many options. I just learned, which I should have known, Washington has, with one of the programs, you can do a single pay MI, which guess what? That affects your borrower's DTI. That means they're making a lower monthly payment, and maybe somebody who was at a 52% DTI is now within range to qualify for a loan when they didn't before. Understand the requirements, prevent avoidable delays. Like I was saying, if you know your borrower's going to have to take home buyer education, get them in there. Talk to your realtor partners. Make sure your realtor or realtist knows, hey, I'm going to be using DPA. Or maybe your realtist comes to you and says, hey, I've got this borrower and they're going to need DPA. We should probably get them started on a home buyer education class. Or when we put in the offer, we know that maybe there's an inspection that's needed. We should probably get that going right away so that we're not adding any time. Don't disclose more than you have to about the financing. That depends on where you're at. So in some states, you don't necessarily have to put DPA on the sales contract. I think I just learned that now it has to go on the sales contract in Washington. Yeah. But here's how you get, does your borrower get qualified for a conventional loan? Does your borrower get qualified for an FHA loan? Absolutely. Now I have guaranteed funding for down payment and a portion of the closing costs. So make it a value add. Take away the negative connotation. Clarify a qualified borrower with DPA is still a qualified borrower. Doesn't change. 4. It extends the transaction. I hate even going through this one because it's so not true. Anything can cause a delay. It's not just DPA. Anything, even in a standard loan, can have delays. Cash to close wasn't fully investigated. DPA application was started later in the process. Maybe you got a few weeks in and the borrower had something come up and, oh, now I'm short. That's okay, we have down payment assistance. But instead of it starting in the beginning, maybe we're a couple of weeks into it and now we have to add DPA. That's all right. It's going to be short and timely as long as you're aware of what you need to do. Home buyer education requirement wasn't completed. We're not going to let that happen. I scream that daily. I cheer it. Home buyer education, whether you're using DPA or not, people need the information. And another great thing that home buyer education provides, I am a huge proponent of home buyer education, if you can't tell. It gives people resources that they don't know exist. What do new home buyers need more than anything? As many resources as they can get, especially if they're very first-time home buyers. I have 8 children. 4 of my 8 children own homes now. 8 children means I'm not providing their down payment assistance. FYI. Not happening. Love them. The 4 that own homes went through home buyer education so they could get the resources that they needed. It was key to them. Back to miscommunication or lack of communication among the parties involved. Educate each other. Hey, we're using a DPA. Here's the steps we're going to have to take. It's not going to add any time. It's great. They're going to have guaranteed funds. They're already approved. So, know the DPA you're using, set proper expectations. My biggest thing is, it doesn't change anything. Let them know the steps you have to take, what you need up front. Your timeline is your timeline. Do home buyer education early. Their certificates are good for a year, 2 years here. 2 years, 2 years. So when you get someone that's looking to, maybe they've got a little bit of work to do. You know what? One of the first steps we can take is let's get you into a home buyer education course while we're working through the process of getting you ready to become a home buyer. Ensure timely order of the appraisal, the inspection, the insurance. Coordinate with title, the seller, the lender. Make sure everybody's doing their part. Find partners. Agents work with loan officers who know DPA well because they want to make sure that everything moves along timely. Establish partnerships. Relationship. Agents have a hard time, is what we hear, finding LOs that offer DPA, that want to earn first-time home buyer business, are good at DPA, and many LOs are not promoting their DPA expertise. They're not highlighting their DPA program offerings, and not necessarily as active in their communities as they should be. So what can they do? Talk to current LO partners. How do you do that? Oh, it's the greatest thing. If you pick up the phone and call your HFA, call your DPA provider, you know what they're going to tell you? Absolutely. We have a list of lenders. We have a list of LOs that we work with because DPA providers want you working with who they work with, who does these programs, who does them well. That is huge. Ask the brokerage for recommendations. Educate yourself. Go on and read the guidelines. Read what the requirements are. They do these great little overviews. So you don't have to get 10 pages into a guideline. You can look at the highlights. Highlights are going to tell you what the program requires. They're going to tell you the basics. Home buyer education. This is a first-time home buyer program. Doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer. The highlights are going to give you the basic knowledge, and then you can go to the webinars. Do you do webinars to teach on the programs? Yeah. Yeah. So every DPA provider has some sort of training out there that you can get into so that you're educated on the program. We suggest to LOs to court agents that list DPA properties. I was telling Karina, we did a training or a workshop together for Northwest MLS on Monday. Please don't ask me what area Northwest MLS covers because I don't know. Karina asked that question, but we partner with Northwest MLS and we looked up their properties. 71% of their properties, just by location, price, have DPA available. 71% of the houses listed on the Northwest MLS have DPA available. Ask to be on a mailing list. You can get email. It's great because that gives you the information. Oh, look what just happened in Washington today. Look what just happened with this program. They'll email you all the updates so you can stay current and stay in contact with the people you're building the relationships with. What can loan officers do? Become DPA subject matter experts. And I promise you it's not as hard as it sounds. DPA programs I've been in the industry for quite a few years. Before, maybe 20 years ago, they used to be more complicated. They used to be a little more difficult. Even the HFA providers, the DPA providers, the nonprofits, the municipalities were like, oh, we have to make these more usable. And they did. And they've spent many, many years working on making these programs so accessible and so easily usable. You can attend a provider training course, incorporate DPA programs into marketing content, proactively work with the product development staff, that used to be me, host seminars with your state and local HFA agencies and DPA providers. Build relationships with the people that you're working with. DPA providers, municipalities, state HFAs. Get more active in the community, unions, employers, faith-based organizations, leverage social media. That's huge, I hear nowadays. The kids love it. Be online when your agent partners are working, and craft an intake strategy with intake partners for new buyers. Top 5 solutions eliminate obstacles. Explore creative inventory alternatives. You don't need 20% down. You don't need 20% down. You don't need 20% down. Leverage the value of DPA. Explain to everyone how it is a guaranteed you get your buyer qualified, your buyer's qualified. Set buyer expectations and prepare early. Create innovative LO agent partnerships. Millions of reasons to rethink DPA. So now we're going to take a look at some data for Washington specifically. And this is looking at median family income for census tract, median family income for extremely low is under 30% AMI, lows 50, moderates 80, middles 80 to 120. And then we looked at Washington, purchase loans, primary residence, 1 to 2 units. So in 2022, and I need the glasses, I'm going to look up here. The applicant, you can see between the moderate and low, it is 1,700 low income applications the originations that came in, versus 58,000 that came in the upper income level. The origination rate from origination to application was over 73% for upper. Right at 73, you go to lower income, and only 48.7 of those lower income borrowers that were originated actually became applications. Loan size, so obviously that's going to follow your lower income borrowers are going to have a lower income lower price point for housing. And denials. This one just blew me away. Upper and middle, single digits of the files were denied. Moderate, 11%, that's still within the range. 28, almost 30% of your low-income buyers were denied. Typically, the denial reasons, oh no, sit back there. Typically, the denial reasons are cash to close, debt to income. Both things that down payment assistance can help make a difference with. I also wanted to share, we've never seen this. It's not just mortgage lenders. It's not just banks. We're seeing creativity within lending as well. In 2022, credit unions did 22% of the loans using DPA to close on houses. So DTI is a major factor. I brought that up earlier. There are ways that using a down payment assistance can bring down your debt to income so that your borrower who didn't qualify can now qualify. It's something as simple as being able to do a single pay MI or a split MI so that the borrower's monthly payment is lowered so that now they fall well within the ability. And this one is, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, in just 1 year, from 2021 to 2022, the housing ratio for a median income family buying a medium income priced home went from 32.4% of their income going to their housing payment to 46.3%. And that's without debt. That's just the house payment. So down payment assistance can make a huge dent in what the borrower's ability to purchase a home. A DPA customer becomes a customer for life. They want to tell everyone about you. an hour in the cab with the Uber driver. He's going to call his cousin, then his cousin's going to call his uncle, and then his uncle. And he said, oh, is this only in Washington? No. I didn't even do a loan with him. All I did was tell him about DPA. It's out there. We don't want it to be the best kept secret. We want to shout it from the rooftops every day and let people know about the hard work that's being done by the housing authorities, the nonprofits, the municipalities, the local HFAs, the state HFAs. You're more than welcome to contact us if you have any questions about down payment information or about the little tool that can be used on our site. We also partner with the Housing Commission. We love them because they're amazing. And they want to get the information out there too. They don't want to be the best kept secret. And that is that. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Yes? So that is with our lender partners, our MLSs. We partner with this cool little place called Zillow. So it's at no cost to the consumer, no cost to the housing agencies, the DPA providers in any way. Our goal is to partner and make sure that the hard work that's being done by them is shared with everyone.
Hello. Our down payment, our DPA program is available with VA loans. Can you use them in conjunction?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it
I almost did a little dance. Sorry. Yes. The financing is available with conventional, VA, USDA, FHA. It's and a lot of. I'm so glad you asked that question because people say, "Oh, why would you need it with VA and USDA? It's 100% financing." Absolutely, and none of those loans have closing costs. Yes, you can absolutely use it with VA, USDA, FHA, conventional. I think actually the commission has programs for every type of loan. Yeah, yes.
Another one came to mind.
No.
So can you also use DPA programs to actually buy down interest rates as part of your closing costs?
It depends on the program. There are some programs that allow it and some programs that don't. So I would say research what's available in your area, and some programs do allow for buy downs, some don't though. Absolutely. Someone asked on the Q&A earlier as well, are there programs available for middle income families? And I keep going back to the commission. That's why I love you guys. Programs, income limits up to $180,000 a year. That's middle income. So yeah, there are programs for low, moderate, middle. It's not the DPA of the past. Down payment assistance is available for your 700 score borrowers, for your 680 score borrowers, for your 720 score borrowers. I hear so often from consumers, I've got great credit, I just can't afford to save. Great, that's what down payment assistance is there for. Any other questions? I think we did pretty good on the time.
Thank you, Angel. Other questions through the app that we might want to share?
I forgot I was talking this whole time and I didn't look. Nope. No other questions coming through? Oh, there was one earlier. When is a buyer eligible to refinance and get a better interest rate when using DPA? So my answer to that was, again, typically it's going to depend on the program. Some programs are grants. Grants are forgiven right away, and there's no timeline. Some programs have a forgiveness waiting period, like maybe it's forgiven 1/10 a year or 120th a month over a 10-year period. Some are forgiven over 5 years. Some are deferred but repayable within when the property is sold or refinanced. It's just going to depend on the caveats to each program, but what you typically look at telling your borrower, especially when they're using a down payment assistance, you want to at least, your intention should be to be in that home at least 1 to 3 years before you're going to sell or refinance. Typically, I tell people 3 to 5 years. So you know and educate your borrowers on what the caveats are for each program. And that was the only other question that we had. Thank you, everyone, for coming today.
Thank you, Angel.